The stay side and the go side are both saying that they had hope in me to heal and to figure this out and to, I was going to thrive regardless of where I was. Hey, what's up? I'm Callie. Thanks for joining me. I have a question for you. Are you facing a dilemma? Do you feel in conflict over a big decision? Or maybe you've already made a choice that you now question. If so, you're in the right place. Maybe you feel regret over a decision that you've made in the past, or just find yourself wondering what if. Maybe you're facing a difficult decision right now. This IFS exercise can help you find clarity by going inside and tuning into these conflicting parts that are pulling you in opposite directions. I found more understanding in my decision to leave college in the middle of my junior year by tuning into my conflicting parts. These two sides feel much more at peace, and therefore so do I. I hope you find clarity in whatever decision you're being faced with or you have faced in the past. I am not a therapist, but rather I am walking through this journey to get to know myself better and to find healing in many forms using art as the catalyst. I will interpret my findings from this exercise through an art piece as usual. Join me to express and release, accept and embrace. This dilemma meditation from Dr. Richard Schwartz's book, No Bad Parts, allows both sides to express to you their stance without taking over, because you will be in control. There's not much you need to do, but just to listen and receive what each part is telling you. Open your heart and mind to hearing these parts without feeling the need to agree or disagree with them. If you'd like to take notes during this exercise, grab yourself a pencil and paper. It can be helpful to jot down any insights that may arise from going inside. And if you want to fully immerse yourself instead, you could have that piece of paper handy for after the exercise to write down anything you might want to remember. So, as usual, we'll be getting comfortable, taking a few deep breaths. You can close down your eyes or just soften your gaze. Think of a dilemma in your life, either one that you're currently facing or one that you have faced in the past. Pick one that you've experienced a lot of conflict around. And as you focus on this dilemma, notice the parts on each side and notice how they battle with each other. And then notice how you feel toward that battle and toward each part in the battle. Now let's get to know each of those parts one at a time. To do that, you're going to ask one of them to go into kind of a waiting room. That will create a bit of a boundary that will allow the one you're currently working with to relax a little bit. So get to know the one who's not in the waiting room first. And again, notice what you're feeling toward it. If you're feeling anything negative, we're going to ask the parts associated with those negative feelings to just let you get to know it for a few minutes. We're not going to give the attended to part more power to take over and get whatever it wants. We're just trying to get to know it. If you're feeling any negative emotion from the one in the waiting room or any of its allies, they need to pull their energy out of you. You can reassure it that it'll have time with you too. So maybe that'll help it be a little more patient. If you can get to a point of being at least a little curious about the one who's not in the waiting room, go ahead and follow your curiosity and ask it what it wants you to know about its position. Why does it take such a strong position on this issue? What is it afraid would happen if the other one took over and won the battle? As you listen to it, you don't have to agree or disagree. Just let the part know that you respect it, you care about it, and you're there with it, and that you hear it. See how it reacts. In the next minute or so, ask the part you've been speaking with to go into a separate waiting room. Then let the other one out so you can get to know it in the same way. And again, you're trying to have an open heart, an open mind as you listen to its side. You don't have to agree, you just kind of want to get where it's coming from, why it's so charged up about this, what it's afraid would happen if the other side won. After you've worked with that second part for a while, ask if it would be willing to talk to the other one directly. Reassure it that you are there to mediate and make sure they stay respectful toward each other. It's okay if either part is not willing to do this. If that happens, you won't take the next steps. But if it is willing, then invite the other one to come and sit down with the two of you. Now you're going to be kind of their therapist as they talk to each other about the issue. And again, it isn't your job to take a side, just to help them get to know each other in a different way and make sure they respect each other when they talk. Remind them that they're both a part of you, so they do have that in common. Then just see how they react as they get to know each other in this different way. Notice what happens to the dilemma. At some point, pause their discussion. Let them both know that you can meet with them more regularly in this way, and ask them if they would be willing to give you their input on dilemmas in the future, but then trust you to make the final decision. They would act more like advisors for you, rather than having the responsibility of making bigger decisions like this one on their own. See how they react to that idea. As before, it can help to remind them of who you are, age-wise, etc., and who you're not. In the next minute or two, thank them both for however much they did, and be sure to remind them that you're going to try to return. Then begin to shift your focus back to the outside world. So during that meditation that you just went through, you saw my visual interpretation of what happened when I did that meditation myself. I was looking at whether or not I made the right decision to leave college right when I did, in the middle of the semester. And when I reflect back on that decision, I can only know, the outcome of the decision I made. So I can't go back and say, if I would have stayed there, this, that, and the other thing would have happened. Obviously, I can't know. I can't know that. Yeah, so I can only know how it went, not how it would have gone. And if you're looking at a decision you need to make now for the future, same thing. You're not going to know what's going to happen. So that makes it difficult. Decisions are especially hard for those of us with neurodiversity like ADHD. decisions come with a sense of loss for the path you didn't take. And I never really looked at it that way until I listened to the I Have ADHD podcast, but Kristen Carter is the podcaster, and she framed it this way. When you make one decision, you're leaving behind something else. So there is a loss there, and you need to be able to mourn that loss. And that's kind of what this exercise did for me. It helped me to mourn the loss of leaving school, leaving, friends behind that, I missed. And I do still miss some friends that I didn't keep in touch with. And I would avoid decision making because I thought I could avoid that sense of loss. But when we avoid making decisions, a decision is usually made for you, right? Instead, I've had to learn to sit with that feeling of loss and embrace the decision I do make. Still, it's not easy. But let's normalize that. It's supposed to be difficult. Making a decision is difficult. And there's always a sense of loss because you're always giving up something to do another thing. So, mourning that loss, however that looks for you, that's part of the decision-making process that I think people tend to leave out, that we don't talk about much. So, this exercise has helped me kind of mourn that loss, embrace the path I did take, and be okay with that because I'm happy where I am. So I did make that decision to leave college early, and it felt like the only decision at the time because I was dealing with suicidal thoughts, a very deep depression. I didn't leave my room for what felt like weeks, probably was only days. But I knew I needed help in some way or another. At the time, it felt like the only decision that I could make. But then later, I started thinking, well, maybe I could have stayed because I could have found help there. And those thoughts just kind of aren't super helpful because that's not what happened. And I can't know what would have happened. So I kind of have to make peace with what I did do. But seeing those two parts was helpful because what they had in common was they both had hope for me. The one that said, you could have stayed, you would have found help, you would have, done better, you would have healed there. And the other one was saying, you have to leave to find that help. You have to leave to find that healing. So the stay side and the go side are both saying that they had hope in me to heal and to figure this out and to, I was going to thrive regardless of where I was. And so that, even though that was one of the hardest times in my life, just to see that those parts that were kind of fighting each other, they both had hope in me and they wanted to protect me. The side that's staying wanted to protect me from the feeling of loss of leaving school and friends. And the other side wanted to protect me from that deep, dark depression and thinking that the way to go was to leave. So they both wanting to protect me, also having hope that I can heal. And it's just kind of amazing to dig in and find that I do believe in myself, even in those darkest times. That was at the core of it. And so that was really amazing to see that. So I'm leaving my artwork as that background kind of meditation And you can go back and look at that again, because it starts off in a dark room, and that's where I began, right? That's where the choice, there had to be a choice. It's kind of like flight or flight or freeze. I was sort of stuck in freeze, and so I chose flight. But that's where I started, in this dark room, and you'll see like the door opening and, you know, the light shining in, and there's a figure doing sort of like yoga type poses, because that's a big part of my healing now, and the eyes opening, and the nature and the forest filling in, and all of that sense of hope that didn't always stay with me at that time, but it glimmered here and there. And it took me a long journey to get to where I am. That was a long time ago. So it's just, yeah. So I just, my takeaway is that I do believe in myself at my core, even in the worst of situations. So I hope you find some gem in your meditation as well that you can lean on and hold for, you know, carry it with you. So I wrote a poem in response to this this decision-making process of making the decision instead of avoiding decision-making. So here it is. Okay, decision, full throttle or nothing? No, not really nothing, but like giving up, failing because I didn't try again, but more like not trying because I'm afraid to fail. But now I'm ready to fail and try again. Fail, learn, retry, repeat. Fail, learn, retry, and repeat. So again and again it happened, or rather didn't, but I digress. I would like to instead build some hope from the ground up. Dilemma, reflection, I need a new EDU. Self-taught artist, figuring it out along the way, enjoying the process. Stay, relax, get comfy. Fail, learn, retry, repeat. Fail, learn, retry. But stay, relax, get comfy in your decision. So if you like this video, you'll probably like others. Go back and watch another.